Welcome to Mustache Piece Theater. What's that, Sparky? Want some peanuts? Here we go, boy.
Let's play.
Let's play indeed. Okay, that's good, Seymour. We at the Gary Kinnischuk Television Network strive to bring you the best quality programming available anywhere. And with that, tonight we present for you the epic miniseries 1979. This was the year that Rusalka embarked on that life-changing tour of Scotland and Ukraine. A tour that took place thanks to the vision and dedication of our administrators at the time, Judge Ben Huak, Walter Olach Romaniu, Kay Kuzik, and Roman Monastersky. Very sadly, none of them are with us at this time, but we dedicate this film to them. This mini-series will utilize archival footage from a number of different sources, but primarily from the late, great Gary Kinnischuk, the founder of GKTV. We thank him for hauling that very heavy CBC equipment across Europe that epic summer. He was also assisted in the camera work by Ken Bailey. So we at GKTV have taken this old film and we've digitized it. And we've also borrowed, we wouldn't say stolen or plagiarized, but borrowed some additional footage from a number of other sources. The 25th anniversary gala video by Randy Kohuch and Jonathan Kaki. The 55th anniversary video by Leanne Coruscant and Simon Rusnak. The Heart and Soul, The Spirit of Rusalka, produced by David Wochuk. And us at GKTV have added more than 200 contemporary interview segments with some of the participants from that year. Now you will note that the variety of digital and audio sources means there might not be a consistent quality to the piece. Okay, so maybe this isn't art, but it is history. I believe you will find this trip down memory lane both serious, funny, and maybe a little bit outrageous. But after all, we were, and perhaps still are, a little bit outrageous. So ladies and gentlemen, the Gary Kinnischuk Television Network proudly brings you the miniseries 1979. I just use the chair for respect. Solinsky, this is more thoughts on just the oppressive experience of Ukraine.
So part of that oppression started as soon as you get into the hotel in Kyiv. And I was bunking with Igor Sicillo, who's not very good at following rules, as those of you that remember him. And
Yep.
it was a fun trip with him and partnering, but the dejurnas did not like us on the floor. And the dejurnas are the, I guess, the guardians of the hotel floor. Each floor had their own, and they would mark every time you walked out of your room, any time you went into your room. They would address different things that if you wore something, you might not be inappropriate. So that was the first response to.
They were like chaperones, but and the theory was that they were supposed to, you were supposed to surrender your keys to them.
Yes.
And you were supposed to get the keys from them. Of course, we didn't follow those rules. I mean, they took our passports as soon as we came. They made us want to deal with the key ladies. And again, it was a constant tug of war because we didn't always play along.
Exactly. And there would be times where you had to be back in by a certain time. They would shake their heads when you'd walk in, obviously after that time. So it was this type of ongoing security breaches that we were playing with and wondering if something's going to happen. Wandering around on our own was not allowed. We had to be with someone. Going away, pictures weren't allowed. Everything was a state secret, I guess.
Yeah, you couldn't take a picture of bridges. You couldn't take a picture of railway lines. You couldn't take any pictures of transportation hubs. There was rules, but we were constantly photographed.
Yeah, we were constantly photographed by them. Even when we were in rehearsals, people were photographing us, and I guess for promotional videos on their behalf that they were.
Yeah, so like some degree we were being paranoid. Like some of the stuff may actually have been legitimate, but without question, they were also spying on us.
Yeah.
So Teresia, there was the infamous key keepers on our floors, and we had some adventures with them.
Those babes. They were sitting on every floor, these little KGB spies. They would watch you come in and out. They noted who you were bringing, what you were doing, everything. I'm sure they had cameras in our room. They had everything. It was just ridiculous. It's such a beautiful hotel, ruined by this. But anyhow, we brought with us a couple of change of, dance outfits that we would use for rehearsals. And they were all nice, we bought them at Malabar in Winnipeg, and they were all very trendy and stuff, the tights and everything, and bodysuits. And so the first rehearsal, we went with to Videoka Studios, and we had the rehearsal. And of course, we always change out of these things, and when we go on tour, we always bring a second set, and we wash out the set that we've used. So I washed it all out, hung it up to dry on this little sort of little balcony that we had in our room, and off we went to their second rehearsal, and we came back, and everything was gone. Like they stole every bit of dance stuff that I owned, except for what I was wearing. And after that, I never left a single thing in our room. I took it with me. Everything was in my bag. I locked my suitcase, and I was just so angry. And every time I looked at that baba on that end of the hallway, I just wanted to...
I gave her a stink eye.
Yeah, because I knew she had it somewhere.
You weren't the only one. They were going through suitcases like bazaar.
Yeah, they just stole things left and right.
Yeah, totally like a bazaar.
It was.
One of the urban legends was we had the key ladies in Ukraine, the dragoonia. We called them
The dragoonia.
dragoonia. They were notorious for going through people's suitcases
Thievery.
and thievery. Do you recall anything about that? Did you have any experiences about that? No.
But I have a vague memory or nightmare of one on our floor. It just felt surreal that this person was there and had that authority over our lives. But Taras, it fit with that whole trip there for me. It was all like we were
Watched.
And that we were kind of like, how do I say it? Sneaky. We were the sneakies, right? Like
we were the sneakies.
We were the sneakies.
Because their job was supposed to be, we were supposed to hand our keys to them and get our keys from them. And of course, we didn't follow the rules.
No.
and of course, they gave us the finger. I remember, creeping down the hallways and 4 o'clock in the morning, and the Dragoonia would be there, sticking her finger at me like, stand on, stand on. They're like chaperones.
But that to me stands out for
Yeah.
that year of we really were the sneakies. Like every chance that we could, we were just under the radar, kind of being playful in Ukraine, being political.
Yeah.
Right, Scotland was just being naughty.
Okay, so Healy, your thoughts about just the experience of us being behind the Iron Curtain?
Well, to begin with, we're going through border security in Moscow, and people are going through your belongings. Some of us had Bibles that we had.
We were smuggling Bibles in, yeah.
Smuggling Bibles in, and being questioned on that. Some more detailed than others. We were bringing gifts in for our families, and we're worried about that all being confiscated. Some of us brought in some cash for our families in U.S. dollars because that was a concern too. Basically, I don't think we were allowed to do it, but we all did it anyway.
But there was a general vibe, like
Yeah.
you just felt the oppressiveness.
You did as soon as you got off the plane.
Right.
You felt the oppressiveness. Now I know there was a long delay. We made up for not knowing what's going on because our flight, for some reason, going to Kyiv, was delayed to a point where we ended up sitting around in circles and drinking our duty-free liquor.
Yeah, like the story there was they put us in a small the intimidation started from the moment we arrived. And one of the things they did was when we arrived in Moscow, they locked us in a small room. And they told us that there's no flights leaving because there's a big storm. And all we could hear is planes taking off every 15 minutes. So us being us, we improvised. We pulled out the songbooks. We started to sing Ukrainci pisni. We started, and that may have added to the delay because it sort of became a battle of wills. And then when they finally let us go, it was pretty late night, early morning when we arrived in Kyiv. We'll talk about that later, but your thoughts about that?
Yes, and that's how it occurred. You know, it was a chance for us to release too, because we got past customs. We weren't sure what the delay was, whether it was a storm or whatever else, whether they were just still vetting us and not sure whether they're allowing us all to come in. I mean, we had the experience prior to that when the group was in Rusalka and Harry Shkorik was detained and not allowed to come into the country because he didn't have his passport and he wasn't a Canadian citizen yet. So we knew that could happen.
Here's the thing about Ukraine. So we were very polite. We tried to be as apolitical as possible. We even pulled out the patriotic songs out of our songbook when we went. So we were very careful for the most part. But then we had Ilse the she-wolf with the SS. And she was our tour guide. And she would just go on and on and on about the great patriotic war and the Remont and how everything is they're suffering because 35 years later after the Second World War it's all because of so much that they've suffered. And so of course at some point you just can't take it anymore. So I remember questioning her about why does a war here start in 1941? Have you forgotten about the part where you were allies with Hitler from 39 to 41? And she would just get all worked up. And I remember Ivas Kauchenko started hammering on her about the toilets. You can build statues, but you can't build toilets. So she would get revenge. I mean, she would just start ranting and raving on the microphone and say, "We are suffering for the great patriotic." So I stole her microphone. I stole her microphone from the bus, and she didn't get it back until I gave it back the next day. And there was another time where we all had this white little hankies on the top of her seats, and she was in one of her rants, and we just all picked up these white flags. We said, "Okay, no, no, we surrender." Like, please, that's enough. That was Ilsa.
The Mongol yoke, you remember, and starting from the end of the 16th century, after 1569, it was joined to Poland. In 1792, after first division of Poland, these lands were joined to Russian Empire, and in between 1590, 69 and 1792, it was once liberated by Bogdan Khmelnytsky troops during the War of Independence in the 17th century. The enthusiasm of that epoch about young people who made revolution and who fought against the enemies during the Civil War. So Mykola Ostrovsky lived in Zhytomyr as well, and he was a delegate on the first of one of the congresses of Young Communist League in his novel Varnak. And it was in this town as well that one of the famous Russian writers, Korolenko, was born in 1853.
I remember one of Ilsa's famous lines. She's showing us these beautiful apartment blocks, and she says, "Yeah, and it's rent-free until you have to start paying." And whatever she said, Randy Smook at the back of the bus, bullshit, bullshitter. Sorry, I'm swearing.
Haydamatchina. This rebellion, peasants' rebellion, which took place in Zhytomyr area in 1768, 1769. And you're right. 82%. Central department stores now. You're right. Today is last Sunday before 1st of September. You know that our kids will go to school on the 1st of September. So that's the last chance for their parents to go to the department store to buy something. That's why the department store, central department store, is opened. Usually all shops and stores are closed on Sundays.
So one of the frustrating things about Ukraine was listening to the propaganda that was being pumped at us, and us knowing that this stuff was just absolute garbage, and us holding our tongues because we didn't want to get Ben in trouble. He wasn't there, and it was just a building frustration. But just things like, I remember Ilsa the she-wolf. We got to the Khmelnytsky statue, and of course he's pointing his bulava towards Moscow, and he's pointing his bulava towards Moscow as a sign of fraternity and friendship between our two countries. And we're just going, oh God, I could kill this woman. And just driving around and seeing bullet holes, old bullet holes in buildings that haven't been repaired. And it's thinking of like how many Ukrainci, how many nationalists died at this scene while she's bragging about the great patriotic war and the Soviets. So that was an incredibly frustrating part of that trip.
There are two small rivers in Zhytomyr. One is now we cross Southern Bug River, Pівденний Буг. It empties into the black. And next great building to the left from department stores is the hotel of the October Hotel, Żółtniowy Hotel, where we are going to have lunch now.
Just want to mention briefly about the economic system of the old Soviet Union. The first impression, when we landed in Moscow, still at St. Vlad's, I had a priest instructor, Father Kushko, that used to say, well, you know, in Moscow, they have the biggest department store in the world.
The GUM.
GUM. So we're in Moscow, and GUM is only 2 blocks away from our hotel. So some of us go there, we're going to go. And this building is just huge, huge. We're talking like maybe 2 or 3 city blocks huge, multi-stories. We go in, and the very first little store is socks. And everything else is closed around it. And we're walking and walking and walking and walking, and you just walk forever. And then there's another store that's open. Socks. And then more and more and more, and we keep going. Socks. And then finally at the end, after we walked for 30 minutes, socks. And whoever I was with, it was like, do you want to go to the other floors? I said, no. And then going into the Kashtan, this is the efficiency of that system.
Yeah.
So we walk in, and he said, oh, okay, so you get greeted by this, and there's a big, huge, like, more than a U of counters. It's almost like a closed U, and you come in on one side, and they say, okay, and you're looking around, and all the stuff is behind the counters so nothing that we could touch ourselves. So I said, oh, okay, we want to look around. That looks really good. Can I see that? And they point you over to somewhere else. You have to go there. Can I see that? Oh yeah, she comes over and puts it down. Well, can I see it? And then I got over here.
You got a requisition for it.
Yeah. Could I handle that? And another lady comes around. Takes me to another station. Now I can touch it. And I look. Oh yeah, I think I'd like to buy this. So I gotta go over there and I talk to this lady. I want to buy this thing. She comes over there, grabs it, takes it over to here. Says, "Okay, are you gonna wrap it up?" Go over there, and some other lady comes over and wraps it up. Okay, can I pay for it? You gotta go over there. Yeah. And said, but hold on, you gotta get over there first because someone's gotta take the package over there. So I think they were like, I bought one item and it changed hands 5 or 6 times before I was able to walk out of the store with it.
Well, I'm surprised you didn't have to fill out a requisition form.
Oh, I think I might have.
Yeah.
A big X.
That's why everybody's employed. Yes.
Everyone's employed.
Everybody's employed.
The road is long, with many winding turns that leads us to who knows where, who knows where. But I'm strong. Strong enough to carry me. go. His welfare is my concern. No burden is he to bear. We'll get there. For I know he would not inform me. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. If I'm laden at all, I'm laden with sadness that everyone's heart isn't filled with the gladness of love for one another. It's a long, long road from which there is no return. While we're on our way to there, I'm not sure. And God knows doesn't weigh me down at all. He ain't heavy. He's my brother.
Here, at the end of 27 astounding days, there's time for one more moment to define the heart and character of Canadian hockey.
Canadian team went into a hustle there, which seemed to be a little unusual. 1:02 left in the game. Stapleton, he cleared to the open wing to Cornwallier. Cornwallier took a shot, the defenseman fell over. The Cornwallier has it on that wing. Here's the shot! Henderson made a wild stab towards Bell. Here's another shot, right by the score! Henderson has scored for Canada! Henderson right in front of the net! And the fans of the team are going wild. Henderson right in front of the goal to goal. 34 seconds left in the game. An absolute bombshell over Paul Henderson after 13.
As everyone is overcome by emotion, there is a realization, forgettable moment.
So while we were in Ternopil, they took us to a Sadochik, where these boys and girls were about 4 years old, as I recall. And they came in, boys dressed in their little shorts, and the girls all with their ribbons in their hair, and they were just so cute. So they did a little dancing for us. First thing I noticed, the boys did no peresike, like we make 4-year-olds do here.
Yeah.
And it was really wonderful. And then they wanted to play a game with us, so it was going to be interactive. So it was like 5 of them, and they took 5 of us randomly from our group, and one of them was Myron Kuzik. And I was a little nervous when I saw this because I wasn't the most delicate guy. So this game that they were inviting us to join them in is basically musical chairs. And now I'm really getting nervous. And, you know, one of our guys goes out, and then one of the kids goes out, and then, you know, on and on until there's 2 left, and I'm going, this is a little girl and Myron.
She's like 3 years old.
Yeah, and sure enough, the music stops right when the little girl's in front of the cushion that she can sit down on. Myron gives her a hip check that Tim Horton would have been proud of. We're horrified as he goes, Dog, Canada! He still thinks it's the 1972 Soviet series. Well, we all rush to these kids, we're giving them all the candy we've got and gum.